In recent NBA news, we are officially, 2 days away from the NBA trade deadline. That will happen, I believe it's 4 p.m. or 3 p.m. on Thursday. That the official one, Thursday at 3 p.m. Impactful deals, that is true, have been largely non-existent. We haven't seen any big trades happen really yet, other than the Trae Young trade. The only trade that I will talk about a little bit, DeAndre Hunter was traded from the Cleveland Cavaliers to the Sacramento Kings in exchange for Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder has now been traded 11 times, or eight times, and he's been on 11 teams in the NBA. I believe he's catching up. He's very close to Trevor Ariza, who was traded the most amount of times in NBA history. Schroeder's getting pretty close. And the best player, in my opinion, the best asset, in my opinion, of the trade was Keon Ellis, going from Sacramento to Cleveland. They needed that primary on-ball defender in Cleveland because, unfortunately, Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell have not been doing that. It did surprise me, though, to see DeAndre Hunter say he was unhappy in Cleveland, because it felt like really that was a perfect spot for him when I saw he was traded there. They really needed that small forward role fit. I just thought it was very interesting to see how badly technically that whole experiment with him went, because it felt like he was the perfect defensive 3-and-D guy to put next to in their starting lineup. But then, like, this year, he didn't even start majority of the games. Like, Dean Wade was starting a lot over him. I didn't know if that was due to his defensive, lackluster on defense, or his, chemistry wasn't there. But Jalen Tyson has come off the bench or started in times of Darius Garland missing time, and he's been so good as a shooting kind of guard. They don't really need more shooting, though. That's the problem. They really needed defense and playmaking in their second unit. Because, no offense, them replacing Ty Jerome in the offseason with Lonzo Ball has been one of the worst decisions that the Cavaliers bench has made, because Lonzo Ball this season is averaging 4 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, shooting 27% from 3, which is actually the lowest in his entire career, lower than even his rookie year with the Lakers. Lonzo has definitely not turned out to be what they wanted him to be. My little skunky, what up? How you doing? And then with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen kind of clogging up the paint, I thought DeAndre Hunter was going to be that perfect small forward. Clearly, it wasn't working out well. They flipped DeAndre Hunter into that point of attack defender in Keon Ellis, and also got the playmaking in Dennis Schroeder off the bench. Now, the biggest rumor to talk about in terms of Cleveland moving forward is last night it came out that the Clippers and James Harden are working on a trade.
Who the hell would want him? Are you kidding me?
That was the biggest news of the past couple of days, which really, really surprised me to see, because, I just didn't think that there was going to be any suitors for a guy like James Harden at this point in his career, especially with the contract he signed with the Clippers, with the chemistry and him being back at home like he always said he wanted. He said he wanted to end his career. Who'd have thought James Harden said one thing and another thing happens? But
he wants to get traded to the Hawks so he can hang out at Magic City every night. LA doesn't have a good enough night scene for James Harden. That's what it is.
So the rumors is that the Cavaliers and the Clippers have been talking in depth about a Darius Garland for James Harden swap. The reasoning for the Cavaliers being kind of trade heavy going into this deadline is because Donovan Mitchell becomes an unrestricted free agent at the end of next season. And people in Cleveland are starting to get worried that if they are once again a first-round exit at the end of this year, or first or second-round exit, they get eliminated early. So say a team like the Pistons or an earlier rebuilding team, is Donovan Mitchell going to just walk in free agency?
Yeah, I think he will.
I guess because of that, they think the answer to keeping him around is flipping Darius Garland for James Harden.
Yeah. Because we don't have 15 years of previous. Oh, give me a break.
I think it's interesting.
They do get him.
Exactly. I think it's interesting.
I hope the Cavaliers do get him.
I hope the Cavs find a way to not only give up young assets, but I hope the Clippers finesse so well that the Cavs trade draft picks as well for James Harden, just so that it turns out even worse for Harden in Cleveland. I have heard rumors though that this is all leading into the ideology that they believe LeBron James is going to be very interested in signing a very short-term, 1-year deal with Cleveland next year. So it feels like they're kind of bulking up for next year because they want to bring LeBron back for his 1 year. end his career in Cleveland, and they believe, I think that James Harden would be more of a personable fit than Darius Garland, I think is what they're kind of leaning, is that might intrigue LeBron to come over more.
He's going there anyways.
Even if he doesn't, I still think this is a bad trade for Cleveland either way. Getting another ball-dominant guy, especially with Donovan Mitchell, I mean, if you're talking about what if Darius Garland, why is Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell not working as a backcourt? Let's just start there. It's because they're both small guards. Darius Garland is good without the ball, but the problem is he's had a lot of injury history as of the past, year and a half. He hasn't been consistently on the floor. Because of that, his defensive side has been very lackluster, and he has been one of the worst defenders in basketball, and they might use a 6'1" guard. So what do we expect out of a guy like Darius Garland? The problem is you don't have another guard that will be able to defend, because Donovan Mitchell is your shooting guard. And I'm not saying Donovan Mitchell is a bad defender, but he's also not the guy that you want guarding the other opponent's, 1A guard.
He might not be a bad defender. I don't think he's a good one, though.
Exactly. He's just athletic. He's just an athletic guy. What does he think? I'd love to hear about James Harden.
Put it this way, James Harden, I think, is one of the... I think he's everything wrong with the NBA now. I think everything that's been wrong. I think he's just a career loser, is what I think. He puts up all these numbers and all this nonsense. But how many times you got to see this guy in a Game 7 just sit on the bench or really be a detriment to his team? So I don't understand that. And as far as LeBron's definitely going to go back to Cleveland. I saw the other night when the Lakers played in Cleveland. What was that, the 50th time they had a pregame ceremony for LeBron before a game? Do they just do this every time LeBron comes to town?
Yeah.
When the Cavaliers have a home game against LeBron, they need to have a 20-minute video montage of LeBron? And then it's the same thing every time. LeBron gets emotional and stuff, and then maybe he's retired. Maybe this is his last time in Cleveland. Make no mistake about it. LeBron James is going to have the most annoying... the most annoying, long, dragged-out farewell tour in the history of sports. I won't be surprised if he does it for 2 years.
I have no idea what the Cavaliers are thinking right now with this. It feels like, if you're going to trade Darius Garland, you want to go get the forward to play alongside these guys. If you're not, but if clearly they believe LeBron's coming, it's like, who knows then what this trade is looking like. Now, mind you, I don't think this trade makes either team for the rest of this season specifically better or worse. I don't look at Cleveland any better. I don't look at the Clippers any worse. So, because of that, I like it for the Clippers a lot more because they're getting a younger asset.
Well, they need draft picks too, right?
They just need players to feel good about.
But don't they have no draft picks?
Well, yeah, they have no draft picks through 2031. Maybe they have a couple seconds or swaps.
Still under 500.
But yeah, they are, I believe, one game under
Good.
500 or
the
2 games.
The Clippers deserve all this. The Clippers deserve all this. And you want to talk about how much of a disgrace it is in the NBA with them skirting the salary cap and the fact they still get to have the... Dude, David Stern would have borderline taken this team away from Steve Ballmer if this was allowed. They took the team away from Donald Sterling, which, okay, I understand you wanted to do it. The team's just as dysfunctional now as they were with Donald Sterling. What a disaster of a... We talked about the Arizona Cardinals yesterday. When you talk about in the 4 major sports in the United States, the Clippers are right there as far as just being dysfunctional and bad.
Yeah, I think they're at least at most bottom 2 in NBA history.
Just foolishness, too, as far as when you see, again, SGA was right there.
Yeah,
they prioritized Paul George, James Harden. It's like, dude, are you kidding? It's like, what? I understand if, good players get away from you where you take a risk. I totally understand that. You know what I mean? But when exactly, Paul George, what year was that? 2021?
2019, 2020.
Yeah, 20. I'm like, we already seen Paul George for a decade at that point. We knew who he was.
Yeah.
No,
it's interesting. I would feel good about it if I'm the Clippers if something like that happens. Now, at the same time, I don't understand why we're having conversation. So the news is broken last night during the game. During the 76ers game that James Harden and the Clippers are working on a trade, right? Harden hasn't been to the Intuit Dome in a week now.
Yeah.
He just hasn't showed up. Personal reasons, right? This is why.
It is, yeah.
But it's really funny because then Kawhi gets asked about it afterwards. It literally, Kawhi's one of those guys that it feels like you would keep him in the loop about stuff like this. dude had no idea Harden was like requesting a trade.
Yeah, because he doesn't show up to work. Obviously, Kawhi Leonard doesn't know what's going on. He's never at work.
No, Kawhi's been there. This is his best. This is one of his best years in 10 years. Give him a break. He's played most.
I'm not giving him a break.
He's played the most games he's played in a decade.
I'm not giving him a break. It's why the NBA sucks. It's because guys like Kawhi's a league leader.
Yeah, I mean, my whole thing is with the Clippers, if you're going to trade Harden, why are you not trying to trade Kawhi too? Like, why are you then holding on to Kawhi and saying, like, why are we keeping him? Just get rid of him. Just trade Kawhi to the Detroit Pistons, go get another young asset you feel good about, and build around Darius Garland and Ron Holland or something like that. But you're not going to, clearly you're admitting to yourself that you're not going to be a, championship contender at this point in the season, right? You're 23 and 26. You're sitting at, I believe it's like the 10 seed. The 9 seed right now, only half a game up on the Portland Trail Blazers.
It's embarrassing.
I look at this Clippers team, even if they do sneak their way out of the play-in tournament and they have to go against the Thunder, the Spurs, or the Nuggets, they're screwed.
I don't care if they have to go against the Rockets, Timberwolves, or the Lakers.
Yeah, you're out in 4 games. Never, exactly. They haven't been a contender since the one year that, they got to beat the Jazz, and then they almost beat Phoenix if Kawhi Leonard doesn't get injured in that series with, DeAndre and Chris Paul and Devin Booker against Phoenix, but that was the only time in this entire Paul George and Kawhi era you could really say they got close to competing for a championship during this era of, which we're going on 6 years now. 6 years, because Paul George was there for 4, left them a year ago. Kawhi has been
7 years now.
Kawhi's been there since since the day he won the championship. He's been a Clipper ever since. So it's like, I look at this Clippers team. I don't understand what direction they're trying to go in. They don't own any of their first-round picks, so that's why everyone keeps saying, like, the biggest winners of this whole thing is just going to be the Oklahoma City Thunder, because if they end up going young again, trading all their guys, the Thunder have the pick. Yeah. So when the Thunder were having rumors of A.J. Debonesa and all the younger guys in the draft, that could be very true if the Clippers are tanking. Now, I don't think Ty Lue and Jeff Van Gundy are going to get this team worse than, say, a Memphis Grizzlies, just because of, Clippers tend to keep themselves sustainable when they get to this around 500 mark, especially with the coaching staff they have. I do trust them a lot more than I see these, bottom tier Western Conference teams. But lottery odds are there for a reason, right? So if the Clippers just fall outside of the play-in tournament, lose out, their pick goes into the lottery, who knows where OKC could jump to in that draft lottery. But I don't really understand this trade for either side. When I saw the Harden news, it really, really surprised me, just because I'm sitting here like, what other teams would be interested in him? I did see rumors of Boston being a team that would be interested in bringing him in.
No way, Brad Steve. It wouldn't happen.
I'd be surprised.
People thought the Celtics were going to go for a tank this year. That Kawhi Leonard, James Harden bull crap about sitting out. That's not how the Celtics operate. It's not how. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to bring him there. Simply, put it this way, Utah wouldn't take him. Where's Utah in the standings
Utah
right now?
take him.
They're not going to take him because they play hard. I can't believe anyone would want James Harden. I mean, that's stunning.
I think a couple other teams that I think would fit him, for example, if Giannis does not get traded to the Timberwolves, I think that would be a huge point guard upgrade for them to put Harden next to Anthony Edwards.
If Harden was coming off the bench, then I would understand. I would understand if Harden would come off the bench.
I think the Timberwolves for a starting point guard would be an upgrade over Dante DiVincenzo. It depends on obviously how much depth you have to give up to get Harden, but I think the Timberwolves would be a good spot for him if they don't get Giannis. Mind you, I look around the rest of the Western Conference, unless the Houston Rockets are want to put together a trade package and bring him back with his bestie Kevin Durant. I really don't see any other teams in the Western Conference being interested in James Harden. I guess Sacramento probably would be, right? Because Sacramento's interested in everyone over the age of 34.
Yeah.
But if I go to the rest of the Eastern Conference,
they'd probably more get to a future for him too.
If the Heat were going to show interest in John Morant, may as well show interest in James Harden. I look at the Orlando Magic and think maybe they'd want to go away from their defensive identity.
No way, Pat Riley would bring James Harden. Pat Riley would strangle this. Spoelstra, there's no way they're going to deal with him. They're not going to deal with him.
Orlando,
you look at James Harden now at this point of his career. At this point of his career, right now, he's been in the league for 15 years now? Mm-hmm. What are you getting with him? You know what I mean? It's like the effort, all that crap, defense, all that stuff right there. He should come off the bench. I think he'd be a very good bench player. He should embrace coming off the bench. It's just a matter of would he do that?
Yeah. I mean, Harden can make a team better. I think that,
Yeah,
then,
but what kind of team?
that's
though?
what I mean.
You
What
know,
kind of
a
team
team
is
under
it matter?
500? You know.
The question is if he goes to a championship contending team, for example, if say he made his way to Minnesota, right, and they run out a starting lineup of Harden and J Mac, Julius Randle, and Rudy Gobert, and maybe they have to give up Nas Reed or something.
We already seen it with him.
I don't see any of that working out.
He was
in
a
the
better
long term.
player with Houston, and it didn't work out. He's a much better player with Houston.
Much
Now,
better.
granted, I can't stand James Harden. I think how he plays basketball is awful, and all that stuff. But again, you saw him at the peak of his powers with Houston, and he couldn't propel them to a championship. So it's what's he gonna do now? It's 11 years later, or however long. It's 10 years later.
Yeah, I think it would be kind of funny to see a team like Milwaukee trade for Harden to be like, thank God hey, Giannis, you want to stick around for another offseason? We got James Harden here to make it work. I could so see something like that happening just because it's like a last desperation move from a team like Milwaukee if they're willing to give up, say, Ryan Rollins, but even then, I don't think it's worth it. I'm very interested to see where Harden gets traded to because it seems like this is already a done deal that he will be getting traded. It's
That's
just where.
crazy.
It's
That's
just where
crazy.
at this
Who
point.
the hell would take how much money does he make?
A lot of money. He makes a lot of money. He's making at least $35-40 million this season. So I just don't see it. I don't really know where he's gonna go. I'm interested to see if he gets included, say, in one of the a big trade happens with 4 teams in the Giannis trade, and somehow Harden's available. But that is the main thing I want to talk about today was the James Harden or the news that James Harden is working on a trade with the Los Angeles Clippers. And then lastly, I do want to talk a little bit more about Giannis before we get back into everything. I have no idea what's going to happen with Giannis. I really believe that if he gets traded by Thursday, it will be the Golden State Warriors or the Miami Heat. I think those are the only 2 teams that I think have the offers at this current moment that would intrigue Milwaukee enough to get a deal done. The only way that it could get flipped, say he comes out and says he wants to be a Knick, then I think Milwaukee would try and facilitate a bigger trade to get Karl-Anthony Towns somewhere else and just bring in more young assets and try and do Giannis, get some assets, take the cat, flip to assets, flip that to assets, and keep rebuilding that way. But it feels like this kind of trade package, if you just replace Jimmy with Draymond Green and Moody, or the Miami Heat offer, if I go down to this one right here, Hero Rozier, which, by the way, it is confirmed that Terry Rozier's contract is getting paid, not only paid to him this season, but it will be allowed to be included in trade.
Well,
so
he better
hypothetically,
not spend $1 because the federal government is going to take everything that he's getting for income. That is going to the federal government.
This is kind of the big trade asset right here is Kawhi, but the Miami Heat don't have as many in the next couple of years draft picks, as many at least as Golden State does. If you look, Golden State has 26, 28, 30, 31, 32, where the Heat would have 29, a 30 swap, and 31. So depending on if they'd be willing to give up another player, I know the Heat, for example, have been interested in doing an Andrew Wiggins trade to bring in another first-round pick to try and flip that into Giannis. Miami's trying to make a lot of moves to get Giannis on this team. The one thing I will say is, if you're trading, say say you're trading Tyler Hero, you're trading Kawhi Ware, you're building a team around Norman Powell, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Bam Adebayo. I don't look at that team, in my opinion, in this Eastern Conference and say to myself, that is going to be the team that separates the Miami Heat in the East. I'm not saying the Heat are going to be better either way.
Adebayo and Antetokounmpo,
It's going to be a great defensive team, I agree, but I keep thinking about, where's the shooting around them going to come?
Sure.
Who's the young guy they're going to give up? The Heat tend to, the Heat are always very good at finding those diamond in the rough players. But I look at this bench right now and I think of Pele Larson, Davion Mitchell. These are going to be guys that they're relying on to play the lead guard minutes in that offense of Giannis, especially if they're giving up Hero and Wiggins and Ware and maybe Yakashovis in this trade. I don't know if I love it. It just feels like I keep thinking about looking at the Bucks 3 years ago, right? When they had Middleton, they had just moved on from Holiday for Dame. I look at that team and I'm like, is that team that he was with in the Bucks, was it better than what this Heat team would look like? And I feel like they're very similar in terms of what I would expect out of them. Maybe second round exits, but they are completely relying on Giannis to be healthy.
They got a better coach, though. I mean,
got a much better coach.
I don't think coaching is the NBA is as important as say football or anything, but Spoelstra gets the most out of guys. That's been proven time and time again.
Yeah, it just feels like if the trade happens, Jakey boy, that's exactly what I was talking about. Harden to the Cavs. I'm very interested to see what happens at this deadline because there's so many names that should be traded. If I go through teams, like, the fact that the Sacramento Kings still have anyone on their starting lineup right now, they traded Schroeder and Keon Ellis, which funny enough doesn't change anything about their starting lineup. But Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan just tried to lose them that game. They dropped like 60 points combined.
Do they have their own first-round pick this year?
The Kings, I believe they do, yeah. And then, but like the Kings should be trying to move on from LaVine and DeRozan. The Pelicans should be trying to move on from Zion. The Mavericks, don't get me started on how many players in Dallas they should be trying to move off of. The Grizzlies should be trying to move off of Ja Morant. The Clippers should be trying to move off of Kawhi and James Harden. I look at like the Timberwolves and I think go get an upgrade. The Rockets, go get an upgrade. The Spurs, go find a way to get Giannis. In the Eastern Conference, I'm shocked to see that Indiana has not made a move yet just to sell one of their good guys. Oh my God, Jakey boy, don't get me started on. Sacramento Kings being the Western Conference Chicago Bulls from trading Tyrese Halliburton
I know.
and De'Aaron Fox and what they had in those two guards to turn that into. Then they draft, by the way, Davion Mitchell with the 9th overall pick when they could have had a really good player at that pick. And then boom, look at how the Kings have gone over the past couple of years. It's just abysmal management. But like the Bucks moving on from Giannis seems inevitable. The Hawks and the trades that they made to move on from Trae Young, but now Jalen Johnson's been underperforming a little bit, so now the Trae Young trade doesn't look as great because the Hawks are falling even farther down, and now it's like Atlanta. Who would have thought Atlanta's stuck in this 10-7 seed again? Chicago Bulls. I cannot believe Chicago has not made a trade to go get more. I know that they just they brought in a salary in that in a part of that DeAndre Hunter trade. They brought in 2 second-round picks. Finally, the Chicago Bulls are learning what draft picks is and bringing them on for contracts.
What do you mean, Jerry Reinsdorf not doing enough at trade deadline? You paying attention to the Bulls or the White Sox?
I'd love to see the Raptors go out and make a trade. I know Brandon Ingram wasn't selected as an All-Star, and he was pretty upset about that. I don't know if he was deserving of an All-Star. Shams just reported. What is the news, my little skunky? What's the news?
I don't believe anything he says until my little skunky's out here trolling.
That you guys are them.
Yeah, please, you know that.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. Jalen Duren is accepting the dunk contest. Yeah, Clippers and James Harden are working to find a deal. Cavaliers is one of the teams expressing serious interest.
Why the hell would anyone want him?
Sean's talking about, yeah, it's just interesting what's going on in the NBA. There's so many players that are on such bad contracts that are looked at as immovable contracts, but then you look around and it's like, oh man, what are we?
There's always someone foolish enough to take them.
Always someone foolish enough to take them.
There you go, BK baby.
But yeah, that's my NBA talk for the day. I'm very hoping in the next 2 days, fingers crossed, we get a couple of trades that I'm able to react to. But I cannot believe that the Anthony Davis trade talks have died down so much. I can't believe the Ja Morant trade talks have died down so much. These teams are not good. They are outside the play-in tournament. If you are worse than the Los Angeles Clippers this year, you got to can what you're doing. At the end of the day, unless you're the Utah Jazz, like what Utah's done. Who would want Anthony Davis? If there's teams that would give you a first-round pick for him, man. There are teams that would give you a first-round pick for a guy like Anthony Davis. I know that sounds crazy, but there are teams out there that I think would do it. I don't see why Toronto doesn't try and upgrade their center position from Jakob Poeltl into Anthony Davis. I think a team like Toronto would do it. I think Chicago would love to bring Anthony Davis in. I think Orlando would love an Anthony Davis. I think Orlando, Atlanta.
From Chicago?
He is from Chicago. I think, Charlotte would want an Anthony Davis. I think there's a couple of them. You would give up a first rounder for Davis? No. Depending on the protections, I would, though.
I wouldn't.
Depending on the protections.
You have to be in a specific. Again, he's another one. He doesn't exactly love showing up to work.
See, you saying I don't want AD, I want Sabonis does surprise me because I think Anthony Davis is more of a ceiling raiser when healthy than Sabonis would be for a team.
When healthy, though, that's a massive when healthy, though.
Sabonis hasn't been the healthiest.
No, I know, but I'm just saying it's to mortgage a lot for Anthony Davis. I don't know about that.
I think a team like Detroit.
He is a part-timer. You're right. He's a part-time employee.
There's teams out here like Detroit, Boston, Toronto, Miami.
Keep Anthony Davis away from the Celtics.
Chicago.
Keep him away from them.
I think they'd be interested. I think that they would, as long as you're not sacrificing your
top
entire
75
future.
all-time Anthony Davis. Unbelievable. That guy got top 75 in the NBA.
But yeah, I look around the league, I'd love to see if Karl-Anthony Towns got traded where else. I'd love to see Cat go to Phoenix somehow. I don't know if that's a rumor at all, but Cat, find your way to Phoenix. I think Detroit has Duren 100%. I think Duren and Anthony Davis would work, right? If the whole thing was Hey, you know I would do that in a heartbeat, Jakey boy. Patrick Williams is the worst player in all of basketball, but yeah, man. Weird trade deadline coming up. I'm just surprised we're within 48 hours now of the deadline, and the only trades that have happened has been Trae Young, DeAndre Hunter, and Vic Krejci going to the Portland Trailblazers. Shout out Portland, by the way. I do want to say, if Giannis does not get traded by Thursday, you heard it here first. Giannis to Portland is a real thing that I think could happen.
I still think he's going to the Knicks.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta see them show interest in Cat before any of that happens. But I would not be surprised if come off season, because then the Warriors trade would be off in the off season. The Spurs would have a little bit better of a trade offer. The Rockets maybe would include Sengun if they underperform. He's a Laker. I don't think he's gonna be a Laker. Unless it's the offseason and he forces his way over there, but then they'd have to trade
forces his way. Adam
Austin
Silva,
Reeves.
Please, they'll do an overnight deal no one's even paying attention to get Giannis to the Lakers.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next 48 hours, specifically with Giannis, and then now with Harden, if Harden's going to end up somewhere, if he's going to have to take a pay cut, or if the OKC can easily make that trade. The problem is Chet Holmgren was just named as an all-star, and dude is making $50 million on top of J-Dub, on top of Shea, on top of Hartenstein making $30 million. So they'd have to give up a package, but what's it called? Man, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next 48 hours.
I'll tell you another thing if Adam Silver was around for. The fact Terry Rozier could still be traded right now with this nonsense going on. Excuse me, David Stern would be all over that nonsense. I still can't get over the disaster that the NBA is, that Adam Silver's just allowing this crap to happen.
Let's go to, I want to see if I go to their roster. Yeah, no more news on Terry Rozier. I wanted to see if they'd come out with the stuff about his contract and everything. Yeah, this was what it was. Rozier won the salary dispute with the NBA.
Well, he needs that because the government is coming for that.
Terry won today under the principles of contract law, yada yada. But the bigger principle at issue is the presumption of innocence. Yeah, approximately $26.6 million he's owed this year. Yeah. So he'll technically, that's why, because he won this case, that trade or that 26.6
well, he better not
can be
spend
included.
a cent because it's not Terry Rozier versus some scrub lawyer. That's going to be Terry Rozier versus the United States government. He better hold on to every cent he has because they're going to take everything from him.
Very intrigued to see.
They're going to take everything from him.
Darius Garland, Anthony Davis, James Harden, John Morant. So many names available. DeMar DeRozan has been apparently offered. Oh, the Lakers made an offer with Rui Hachimura and Dalton Connect for DeMar DeRozan. Like, that's going to really help them. Who knows? But that's where the NBA is standing right now with 48 hours to go before the NBA trade deadline.